The FAA says it's not our fault. It's SpaceX's fault. Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much once again joining me for tea time. Today we have a little bit of fireside. I hope you're joining me with your cup of tea, maybe a cup of coffee, hanging out, talking tech, talking photo, talking video. Today is a SpaceX day. You guys were kind of up in arms when it comes to my last video, yesterday's video. So I said, you know what? I might as well do a continuation of that and what has transpired in the last 24 hours. The FAA made a statement and I think it's interesting. I think it's very interesting. Of course, like I said in the title of this video, they're saying, listen, it's not our fault. This is all SpaceX's fault. All right. We don't have anything to do with this additional 2-month delay for IFT-5. No. It's not our fault. It's their fault. They didn't do what they're supposed to have done in a timely manner. So I want to go through some of this and I want your thoughts on it because you know my thoughts. If you watched yesterday's video, if you didn't, check it out. All right. It was a little bit heated. It kind of aggravates me. I cannot stand 3-letter organizations that are basically fat cats that are just getting a ton of taxpayer money that do basically nothing. If you've ever seen a city worker, if you're a city worker, I apologize. But if you've ever seen a city worker around you working, there's always like 6 guys and like 5 of them are literally kind of sitting there watching the one guy do whatever it is. Let's say they're digging a hole, right? They're putting in fiber. I just saw that, matter of fact, the other day. And there's literally 4 or 5 guys that are just sitting there watching and one guy is digging. And then they'll like, I don't know, take turns or something because they get paid for 8 hours. Doesn't matter how long of a trench they dig, they get their hourly pay and that is basically it. It's not per job. And I think that that would be the way to do it. You pay the people per job and guess what? Shit will get done, right? Streets will get paved. Anyways, that's for a whole nother video. Something similar is happening here with the FAA. And I want to go over an article that I was reading over. I think it was on Space News. I believe this one was. And once again, I want to know what you think about this. I'm sure you will get my tone in this video, but I want to hear from you because I could be wrong. Just because this bothers me, well, maybe it doesn't bother you. Maybe I'm completely wrong and I'm okay with that. I don't mind being wrong, but just tell me where I'm just not getting it. All right. So before we get into this video, I just want to say that if you enjoy the video, throw it a thumbs up. That's very, very helpful. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not. If you are, thank you. I appreciate that. Click this little button over here, the notification button. So when I go live or when a new video comes out, you will be notified of it immediately. Friday nights, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the JC Live Show. We call it Free Speech Fridays. We basically can talk about just about anything, and it's a lot of fun, and many times my wife is on with me. If you haven't downloaded any of my ebooks, check them out. They are free. Go to JCristina.com/books. If you want to just say thank you for all of my hard work, there's a little thank you button. You can give $1 or $2 if you like. If not, that's perfectly fine. The video is still free. Consider doing so, though. If not, maybe you could become a member of the channel. That would be even better. And finally, if you want more Starlink content, I'll put a link right here. Don't click it yet. I put a link here about 340 videos just on SpaceX, Starlink, helpful how-tos, tips, tricks, what to do, what not to do, what to buy, what not to buy, the hows behind it, and more importantly, the why behind everything. This channel has always been about the why, and it'll continue to be about the why. So let's get right into this article. Once again, I want to hear from you after. And if you don't want to say anything because you're shy, put a little emoji down there just so I know that you listened. That would really be helpful also. So it starts out by saying, a day after harsh criticism from Congress and industry, the Federal Aviation Administration, or the FAA, defended its approach to launch licensing and specifically its work with SpaceX. At the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Global Aerospace Summit, September 11th, the FAA said that it has a good relationship with SpaceX, but that timelines for launch licenses depend on choices the company makes. Pushing the blame, right? Gets worse. Hang in there. Quote, "We work very well with SpaceX. We have a very strong dialogue with them," said Dan Murray, Executive Director of Operations Safety at the FAA's Office of Commercial Space Transportation. Quote, they get a majority of our resources because they're doing the majority of the operations. At least he gets that. I'll get into that in just a second. That included, he noted, the hundreds of hours of overtime that his office records each month. We are doing everything that we can to work with them as efficiently as we can. Complete BS. The comments came a day after a hearing by the House Space Subcommittee where members and industry officials criticized the FAA's implementation of a new set of launch license regulations, more regulations, known as Part 450. That coincided with a statement by SpaceX that said it recently learned that the FAA had delayed an updated license for its next Starship launch by more than 2 months. That's what we talked about yesterday, more than 2 months. They pushed it back to late November for what it calls a superfluous environmental analysis. Superfluous. Most of these environmental analysis are superfluous, in my personal opinion. I'll tell you why that is before the end of this video too. Quote, we have a great dialogue with them. We prefer to have our dialogue directly with them, Murray said when asked at the conference about SpaceX's public statement about the launch licensing delay. See, they didn't like that because now we get to see what goes on behind the scenes, right? We see all of the inept people that are not doing their jobs or doing it poorly over at the FAA. Because there's no reason to delay a launch by 2 months, especially when SpaceX said we were ready. We were ready at the very beginning, the first week of August. Now they're pushing for November, late November. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. He said that the schedule for the next Starship launch, known as Flight 5, is largely set by choices that the company makes, which he added is true for all companies that seek launch licenses. Once again, pushing the blame. The choices that the companies make. It's not our fault. It's SpaceX's fault. Poor choices. Poor choices. Those choices include the scope of the license they seek and the timing of the information they provide, the completeness of the application, and if the applicant changes information after submitting the application. He's basically saying that they did all of this. All of this. The schedule that the FAA provides for assessing a license is based on assumptions that the application is complete and does not change, he said. The FAA, in a separate statement on September 11th, noted that the license that the FAA issued for Starship's previous launch in June allowed for multiple flights using the same profile, but SpaceX modified the profile for the next launch and provided information only in mid-August about, quote, how the environmental impact of Flight 5 will cover a larger area than previously reviewed, requiring consultation with other agencies, like the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Yeah, U.S. Fish and Wildlife. You know how much I absolutely love them, right? Yeah. You just go and consult with them and see if there's any fish that somehow get harmed with this launch, or if there's a bird that somehow got charred, or just something, right? Absolutely, absolutely in its face, absurd. But this is what they do for every single launch. Like if any of the native animals, fish, wildlife, vegetation, ferns have changed since the first launch, we're on like launch 90, 95 or something as of now, just for this year alone. Just stop already. Just stop. It is absolutely in its face ridiculous. Quote, the driver on the current schedule is the environmental review in this case. Yeah, no crap. The safety review is not done yet either, but it's on a shorter schedule, Murray said. He confirmed the issue is in that review outline in SpaceX's September 10th statement, including wastewater discharge from the pad's water deluge system, sonic booms from the Super Heavy booster returning to the launch pad, and changes in the splashdown location of the interstage section. This deluge system just made me laugh yesterday, guys. Just made me laugh. Instead of using like potable water, literally using maybe canal water, who cares? It's going to evaporate in a split second. No. What does SpaceX use? Drinking water. They use drinking water to cool that stainless steel pad that they made so it doesn't blow a damn hole in concrete everywhere, right? It's cooled with drinking water. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. He said his office has worked well with SpaceX on other regulatory issues. Really. He cited examples like allowing them to return to flight quickly after an incident that included an upper stage failure in July and unsuccessful landing in August, where the booster, the Falcon 9, the booster came down, right? And then tipped over. Yeah. That was egregious. That was scary on a drone ship in the middle of the ocean. You can't make this shit up. You just can't. You can't. The FAA also works with the company for waivers to increase launch availability. Murray appeared on a panel with executives of two other launch companies who said they have good relationships with the office. Quote, "We have a long-standing positive relationship with the FAA's Space Transportation Office." This is what Brett Alexander said, the Chief Revenue Officer of Firefly Aerospace. No major concerns about regulation itself or how it's being implemented. It's been a very productive and constructive relationship and dialogue. This is what Lars Hoffman said, the Vice President of Government Sales at Blue Origin, on works with the FAA on getting a launch license for the company's New Glenn rocket. How many times have that New Glenn rocket launched? How many times has Jeff Bezos over there, his Blue Origin, actually launched rockets, period? Well, I looked it up because that's what I do, right? They've launched 25 times so far this year, right? SpaceX has launched nearly 100 times. 4 times the amount, right? They're like 25%. And when they say, oh, we have no problem getting launch licenses, yeah, because you got 25 and not 100. That's like if someone is traveling to work an hour every day through traffic and another guy says, you know what, traffic's really not that bad. I don't have a problem with it, when he works out of his house. Yeah, of course you don't have a problem with it because you're not driving an hour there and an hour back through rush hour. You're in your house. And when you do go out, it's for groceries, right? And there is no traffic. This is not rush hour. You don't have a problem with traffic, but they do. It's just stupid. It's absolutely stupid. The FAA's Murray said that the agency encourages companies that have gone through the Part 450 licensing, that's that new regulation nonsense, to share lessons learned with each other. A new aerospace rulemaking committee will also allow industries to provide input on how to improve the licensing process. Yeah. So, the whole notion that, listen, it's not our fault. It's SpaceX's fault. They did this, they did that, they didn't do this. Is a bunch of nonsense. Is a complete bunch of nonsense. I mean, think about this. The environmental impact is going to be the exact same thing. Even if they bring super heavy down and they try to catch it through the chopsticks or salad tongs, or as they call it, Mechazilla, and it fails, and the damn thing just blows up. It is sitting on, I believe, 5.5 or 6 square miles. That's like 3,500 acres of land. They would have to be really off for them to cause any type of damage, any kind of public safety issue or environmental issue. Okay? Once again, in its face, it is absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous. And like I said before, SpaceX has launched nearly 100 times. They're looking for about 145 before the end of the year. Where you're looking at Blue Origin and their Glenn nonsense, And Blue Origin just in itself has never even put one of Jeff Bezos's satellites in orbit because it has never worked. They had to use ULA just to get 2 prototypes in orbit. He's still saying that he's going to compete with SpaceX Starlink. With what? They don't have a single satellite in orbit. That's for another video. It's just a joke, all right? It's an absolute joke. And what goes on with these agencies, these 3-letter agencies, is a travesty. These people are inept, all right? Or it's just a blatant political thing, which is a possibility too. Because I tell you what, some of this stuff just sounds fishy to me. Pardon the pun. Fish and wildlife having to get involved and checking on certain fish and species and the fern is bullshit. Ask China if they're doing any of that. No, they're eating our lunch. They are launching while these people are sitting there trying to figure out what they're doing and then blaming everyone else instead of doing their jobs and then complaining about their hundreds of hours of overtime. They're not on salary. They're getting paid per hour. They're making a lot of damn money, right? Get to it. Get to it. It's ridiculous. I want to know what you think, right? What do you think about all this? Do you think that SpaceX is at fault here, just changing things up too quickly, not innovating or iterating slow enough for them? They're used to NASA, right? What takes like 10 years for NASA takes like 10 months for SpaceX or less. They're not used to that. They don't know what to do with themselves. They're actually having to work for the love of God. What do you think? Down below, I want to hear from you. Once again, if you enjoyed the video, throw it a thumbs up. That's very helpful. And finally, head over to my website, JCristina.com, where you can find all the photography tools I've invented for you over the many years, and my shirts and my merch and my books and everything else. Head over to JCristina.com. Pick something up. Help support me and my family. Many blessings to you and your family. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay connected, and we'll see you in the next one. Love you all.